So before I dive into the science, though, I would love to just take a minute and introduce Dr. Peters. If you'd come up here for a minute, please, and just come up here and stand by me. One of my most favorite humans on the planet, and I am so grateful for his willingness to share his knowledge and his expertise with me. And if you'd like to just say hi to everybody for a moment, but talk about a great mentor. When I got into the knowledge and understanding of the science, I went back through and just I tried to erase everything I knew about horses, and I want to start over. I want to start over with science. It is so critical. And I did. I just scrapped everything and started over. So thank you so much. Your influences, I believe, is going to change horsemanship forever as this gets more and more popular. So thank you.
You know, Wes is a very humble guy. He dove into this like a sponge, and he struggled with knowing some really complex concepts. But I can't think of anybody who's now able to apply that better. And his horses are just, testimony to how well he's taken this all in. So I don't think there's anybody around who really truly understands scientifically what's going on in the horse's brain and then can use it with his horses. And I think you're in for a real treat today watching Wes.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Steve just lives in Mancus, and so he heard I was going to be out here presenting, and he was like, can I come by? I'm like, please come by. Please, please, please. So thank you for coming, and love spending some time. And what's even better? I get to get his critique afterwards. Like after I'm all done, I kind of hang out and I'm like waiting for him to see if you really butchered that word, Wes. That you didn't know. No, he's very generous and you were really good. But if I'm off a little bit, I want to know. I want to know. So I love having his expertise to flow with me. So let's dive in. I'm going to get Kid in just a couple minutes. But first I want to talk a little bit about the horse's autonomic nervous system. We know the horse has the fight-flight. Right? We've all heard that. We're all probably really familiar with fight-flight. Yep, I know exactly how that works. So the fight-flight response is in the sympathetic nervous system of the horse. And the sympathetic nervous system is stress, anxiety, worry, anxiousness, whatever that's what's happening in the sympathetic nervous system. And then in the parasympathetic nervous system is the rest, relax, the calm, more of the quiet. So you can think about the parasympathetic system as like a brake in a vehicle, an automobile. So if a horse is really parasympathetic, they're really mashing the brake on their nervous system. If the horse is really sympathetic, they're really mashing the gas pedal, meaning things are starting to happen, right? We're going to do a little burnout. We're going to kick up some dust, right? We're going to have hair and dirt flying if we got a lot of sympathetic action going on. What we want to have with our horses is a dynamic balance. We don't want the brake all the way off or the gas all the way off, because now we have a horse that is just totally off. It's not doing anything. But we don't want the gas pedal mashed to the floor, and we don't want the brake mashed to the floor, because now we got a horse that's trying to split itself in half. Half of it is like ready to blow up, and the other half's got the brake on, and it's just struggling to figure out what to do, how to balance. So we want a dynamic balance of those two nervous systems. So on the screen over here, you're going to see the heart rate and the variable heart rate of Kid. The number we're going to be watching the most today is the one on the right with the little yellow heart by it. That's called the variable heart rate. And the variable heart rate of the horse is measured by the time between the beats, the space between the heartbeat. And if that space is longer, it's more parasympathetic, meaning the horse is applying a little more brake. If that gap is really short, then that means the horse is applying a lot of gas or a lot of sympathetic. So the lower the number, sympathetic, the higher the number, parasympathetic. So right now, Kid is at 58. And as I've kind of been watching while he's been over there, 50 to 60 is going to be a good baseline for him. Meaning nothing's really going on. He's just over there minding his own business. He's not overly worried, so he doesn't have a lot of the gas pedal going on, or would see him over there dancing around. He's not super parasympathetic, where he's maybe just locked up with the brakes on and he's just standing there waiting for the world to come to an end and hopes he goes first, right? So he's in a good space, right, in this 50 to 60. When we're teaching or working with horses, there's a range of this dynamic between parasympathetic and sympathetic where they can learn. If we're too far in sympathetic, no learning. We're too far past in parasympathetic, no learning. We want to be dynamically in this middle range, wherever that kind of is for the horse. And that's what we're going to show and talk about today is how do we get this optimal learning range? How do we get in this window of learning? So if you guys So if the sympathetic nervous system, give you a little bit of an example of what it might feel like for a horse to try to learn while it's under the sympathetic nervous system. Have y'all remember taking your driver's test? Might have been a while ago for some of us, right? Since we had to actually go sit down and take the test. But my son just went through this process, and man, he was nervous to go take this test. And so I'm going to give this as an example. You know, taking that test can be some anxiety, some pressure, right? And we might be kind of hard to recall that information, or even if we're trying to learn that information under stress, we're not going to get as much of it. So imagine that you're going to go take your driver's test, but when you show up to the DMV, I'm there. And I'm going to be your instructor for the day to do this driving test. And guess what? I brought a whole bunch of special forces, special operators guys, my Navy SEAL buddies, my Army Ranger buddies, my Green Beret buddies. I brought a whole bunch of them with me. And we set up a shooting course. And then out in the middle of this shooting course is all of your desks where you're going to go sit and take this test. And I'm going to give you some pretty strict instructions to don't move out of your desk. And I'm going to hand everybody out the test and say, okay, don't start your test yet. And you're all sitting there, and then I'm going to tell all of my sharpshooting friends, I'll be like, okay, firing line ready, fire when ready. Go ahead and let's start this test. And these bullets are just going to be zinging over your head and zinging past. Like, that would be very much a sympathetic nervous system experience. Would you agree with that? Could it be hard maybe to spell your own name? Write down your address might be a difficulty for you at that moment. And this stuff's just zinging by, and you're like, man, I can't even think about where I live right now. That's what our horses feel like when they're in that sympathetic nervous system. Their internal system is just boiling, and then we're trying to teach them how to do a side pass, or we're trying to get them to load in a trailer, or we're trying to get them to go on a trail ride, but your horse feels like it's out there on that fire. So I'm painting that picture so you can get a little feel of, oh, that might be what my horse is feeling right now. A little anxiety, a little anxiousness. So there's some chemicals that we have in this nervous system. Sympathetic, we have cortisol and adrenaline. Cortisol is stress and worry. Adrenaline is kind of gas on the fire, or adrenaline is how we're going to get some things moving. We're going to make it happen. Neither one are bad, but too much of both is something. You got something going on. In the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest relax, we got some chemicals over there, dopamine and serotonin. Dopamine rewards behavior, and serotonin balances emotions. And so the emotions that I'm going to talk with about Kid today are fear and safety. So if he has a serotonin out of balance, he would be very fearful. That isn't balanced, that he's kind of in an equal state between fear and safety. So we'll check with those. So that makes sense. We got dopamine and serotonin in the parasympathetic, cortisol and adrenaline in the sympathetic. And before I go get Kid, I'm going to try to set this all up, and we'll let Kid do the teaching is what I'm hoping. We'll just let him tell the story, because as far as I know, horses are horrible liars. We're really good at it. We can kill it, but they're terrible liars. So we're going to see how he goes. But there's some events that happen in that horse. When they get elevated in that sympathetic nervous system, everything starts to kind of pick up and get going, which is fine. We want to take our horses up in the learning, but we want to bring them back down because we want to get back in this optimal range. And what you're going to see Kid do when he's starting to come back down is you're going to see him kind of blink his eyes. His ears might go from being really alert, like, what the hell's going on, to, oh, what the hell's going on, right? His head might go from up here, elevated, sympathetic, wide eyes. I want to see my horizon. I want to see everything around because I'm freaking running. I want to see what's going on. So we might see that body language in the sympathetic, and as he transitions, his head and neck will get softer, his head will come down, his eyes will get darker, he'll start to blink. He's going to lower his head a little bit. We might hear him take a big breath. His breathing is going to change from short, shallow sympathetic to deeper, slower, rhythmic breaths in the parasympathetic. When he's stressed in the sympathetic, his stomach gets turned off. Why would Mother Nature turn our stomachs off when we're sympathetic, when we're stressed and worried? Why would because this happens to you too. Yeah, so look, if I'm going to run for my life or fight for my life, I do not need to digest my hamburger. That is not important right now. What's important right now is safety. So my internal system is going to shut down everything that isn't related to me getting to safety, whether that's fight or flight. So Kid's stomach will get turned off when he gets into the sympathetic nervous system. And then when he starts to transition to the parasympathetic, one of the key markers that is going to happen internally is his stomach is going to get turned back on, meaning he's starting to come down, like, okay, I'm not going to die. So his internal system will just start to, let's turn things back on. The stomach will get turned back on. The breathing will change from short, shallow to some bigger breaths. All those things I talked about will start to happen. But one of the key things that we're looking for in learning is when that stomach gets turned back on, the salivatory glands get turned back on in the mouth. And when the salivatory glands get turned back on in the mouth, our horse is going to lick and chew, right? We've all seen horses lick and chew, and there's a variety of what all that means, and I'm going to say most of them are probably correct. Today I'm going to stick with science. And what science says in monitoring horses, and they can put these little devices somehow, and this is some, you can talk to Dr. Peters about how all this works, but there's some magic way you can put little things inside the body that can measure the chemicals that are going into the cells in your body. They can measure how much energy is in that cell, that neurochemical going into the cell. So they can measure this. This isn't just made up. This is science. But when that horse licks and chews and the stomach gets turned back on, there's a dopamine release in that autonomic nervous system of the horse. Same with us. As we relax and start to feel good, our stomach's on, we'll get a little dopamine hit, we start to feel a little bit good. So when that dopamine hit comes and he licks and chews, that's the marker that I'm watching the most to get learning. Because every time he licks and chews, he just got another little dopamine hit right before that. Whether it's milliseconds, a second, I don't know, it's right in there that happens. So the more times I can get kid to lick and chew, the more times that dopamine hit is getting released into his neural system. And there's not a study done on learning that doesn't involve dopamine. Dopamine is required for learning. So if I want to be the teacher, trainer with the horse and teach or train, and I want the horse to learn, the more dopamine I have going on, the better job I'm doing. Does that make sense? Like if I had a bunch of grade school kids in here, but they're all scared to death because I'm just up here cracking whips and barking orders and blah, 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 and they're all stressed out and worried, I'm not going to learn a dang thing. But if I can get those kids kind of smiling and laughing, and we can do little exercises and get things playing around, they're feeling good, they're getting dopamine hits going on, and they're going to go home, Mom, guess what I learned today? I learned that the sky's blue. They're excited, they learned, they felt good. As I could tell them the sky's blue all day, and if I'm just sitting there cracking and barking and they don't never get a break and they're just stressed out, what'd you learn at school today, Johnny? I don't know.
Is that very soft if she's gone through that dopamine side, I think. If they're not, they're stiff as a plank.
Watch, we'll see afterwards and see what you think about his ears here today and what he's doing, but I don't know about that, but watching, we'll see. See kind of what's going on. There's a little stress. It may be a very well good stress indicator for sure. All right, so let's look at kid right now. He's at 50, so I'm going to say that's a good base for him. 50 would be a good relaxed base for him. You guys watch what happens when I walk over and go get him. Let's just see what that number does. Does it go up? Does it go down? I don't know. If it goes down, it's sympathetic, cortisol, stress, worry, fight, flight a little bit. If it starts to go up, it's parasympathetic, brakes, slow this down. And then we'll get up here and we'll have a chat with kid. Oh boy. All right, what happened? Oh my goodness, 1,527. This guy's so far out of learning anything right now. Wow, yeah. And all I did was walk over and go get him. He is on the firing range and my dudes are firing bullets right now, internally. Does that make sense? So here's science. Let's just take a quick look at the horse. Head up, eyes looking for the exit. How the hell do I get out of here? Ears are alert. There's my buddies over there. What the hell am I doing over here with all these predators? Lips kind of tight. Oh, he's putting his head down. He's trying, right? So this is just kid being a horse. This is just what's going on. All right, we're getting back, right? We're getting back down to a baseline. There was my licking and chewing. Kid's like, holy cow, man, your friends are shooting too close, man. Back them off. Oh, more licking and chewing. So we're going to count that. We're going to see if we can count the number of times licking and chewing. If anybody would like to help me keep track of that, I would love it, because sometimes I get talking and I forget. But we're going to say number 3 times right there. Okay, so did he confirm or deny what I just said about science? I don't mean to try to teach you guys anything. Let's just throw some facts out and you learn whatever you learn when you walk out here. How about that? We'll let science and kid kind of tell what's going on.
It's interesting, his lower lip is still so tight, but the numbers are coming down.
He's getting better. Well, he'll go through a lot of signs here of different things. So that was just me walking him over here. So as we start working with kid here, I'm going to just do a little bit of stimulus and we'll see kind of how he handles and what he can do, because we'll make some changes right here, right now, today with him, but being that he's 18 years old and I don't know what his neurochemical training has been in 18 years. He's just been your horse and been doing, just being a horse, just being a good trail riding horse. So we're going to just kind of tinker around here and see what happens with him. But what we want to get him to do is be able to balance his nervous system much better. So walking over here, what pedal was he pushing? Gas or brake? Sympathetic. He was pushing on the gas pedal. Now, he wasn't physically dancing around, but internally he was racing. He was at the top. So we're going to do a little evaluation here just for me to kind of check in and get to know Kid a little bit. But I'm going to take this flag right here behind me, and I'm just going to raise it up in the air behind me, and then I'm going to wave it like this a little bit and just see what triggers happen. What does his internal system do? I want to know, because I'm in here hanging out with him, just because Orlee's had him for 17 years and does trail riding with him. I've learned over my career of handling horses that I treat them all like they know nothing, that they're just edgy. So I'm going to check him out a little bit. Good. Number 4. Question?
Does that mean you will not proceed in training until you know that he's relaxed enough?
I'll start, but I want to kind of see how sparky he is and how we want to take him up and come down, just how quickly can he recover. That's going to be what I'm kind of looking for. But I'm not going to do the next thing until he recovers. So I don't want to tell him 4 or 5 things and expect him to get that. If the first one, he hit the sympathetic nervous system, his brain went offline and he didn't learn nothing. Everything I do after that is wasting my time and his energy. So we're just going to kind of, what does this roller coaster look like? He's going to go up, come down, and then we'll kind of get this learning window where we can really dive in with him. So he's pretty chill and relaxed right here. Make sure I got my fingers out of all of these loops. Now I just want to bring this up, wave this around. So look, head up, look at those white eyes, look at those big ears. And I don't even think I need to look at the monitor, but I'm going to say he was pretty sympathetic. What was his number?
80. Yeah. Well, it's going down to 50.
His heart rate was 80. What was the other one?
His heart rate was like 140. Right now it's 2, and then...
All right, so there's sympathetic, 21, 20. So he's still in kind of recovering right now. Look at him. Like, Mama didn't tell me you was going to have a horse killing flag. She told me we was going to go to the fair today and see a bunch of people, and it was going to be fun. Right? No, he's like, oh, man. So if I was trying to teach and do something with him right now, his internal system is spun out. He's spun out right now. So waiting for him to recover and come down, and he hasn't licked and chewed yet. Look at him trying to lower his head, though. He's trying to come down. His ears we're watching me look at those eyes, pretty worried, but he's trying. He's holding his feet mostly still, right? He's not doing, look at him trying to work this, probably like, wow, what just happened? So we're just waiting to let that system come down until he can lick and chew. Because what happens when he licks and chews? He gets that dopamine release. That dopamine release is what I want to have going on to help him be calmer. Because if he gets some dopamine, what's the other neurochemical that hangs out with dopamine? What were the 2 on the parasympathetic? Serotonin. If I can get some serotonin going on here, I can help balance this out to where we don't go so down in the sympathetic. He can manage that a little better. But right now, it's just boom, right to the edge.
Didn't you say that the dopamine was just before Helix?
Mm-hmm. So, yep, so I'm there it is. I'm waiting for that. I need that little reset. So his stomach just got turned on. That's how long it took his internal system to say, all right, let's go ahead and digest that grass. We're not going to die, really. But there for a few minutes, I thought we were. So his internal system just made a little change, and then we'll start to see things change. Now he's back up to 57. He's back to a baseline. Okay, so I just took Kid on the roller coaster ride, right? We got on at the bottom, built up to the top. Oh, my gosh. Oh. I raised the flag up. Sure enough, I'm going to do it. Ah, we're going to die. And then we get across the bottom. You're like, didn't die. So I want him to be really good at riding the roller coaster. Because what he's going to do under pressure is how his autonomic system responds. So right now, under pressure, this dude just lights out. He's offline. He goes right to the sympathetic. Let's check this again. I know, Kid. Yeah, buddy. Do we even need to? Here. So we'll put this flag up. Oh, boy. Look at all of that worry. Oh, boy. Yeah. Oh, there's number 5. Yeah, so what I want to get is to where as soon as I release, he's just wants to dump that dopamine. He's like, give me some dopamine, I need to recover. Because would that be good for his life safety to try to get back to homeostasis as quick as possible? Get back to balance. It's very unhealthy for him to stay extremely stressed. Not us humans, though. Oh, hell no. We'll lie about it. We'll fake it all day. We'll go to a doc. Give me some drugs, man. I want to camouflage all of my stress. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. And then we break down. Ask me how I know this. Who had a nervous breakdown a year and a half ago and just almost lost his mind? Yeah, stress kills. Come here, kid. Like, yeah, right. I know, Kid, I know. It's the scariest thing ever. Whew. It's like, what's going on? Oh, good, number 6, licking and chewing. So we're on the edgy side, right? He's going to be real reactive here for a bit, but I want to start bringing him better and better and better to where he can get more and more balance between the gas and the brake. Right now, he's got a lot of gas. He's pretty quick to just chirp the tires and let it rip. We'll see how we spin out later. Let's just get things moving. Let's see if we can get him to bring that down. Just lower that down. Yeah, I bet. I mean, his internal system is high life preservation is kicked in. He's in life preservation, not learning, not calm, not like, hey, let's go do some stuff. So what we're trying to do is build some balance in his nervous system, right? We want him to be able to handle this better and not have it get so sparked up. So I just keep giving him a minute here. But I'm going to start watching. I want to get these soft ears like this right here. Those ears laid back like that. Just over my many hours of watching horses, that's, to me, a lot more of their brain. He's more mentally right here than not right here. If his ears come up and he's looking there or looking back there, then that's him mentally, I'm over there. I'm worried about that. I want to be with those. I want to leave and go that way. What the hell? And who's hungry? Somebody's belly just growled. He's like, which one of them's hungry? What's going on? Right. I want his ears just like that, because I want him to just mentally try to disconnect from everything out there, and I want him and I to start building some relationship, building some communication. Because the more I can get him on my team chemically, then the more we can get some learning done. We're going to do this again, Toby, or kid. Yeah, since this is such. So we're going to try this. Now I want to see if I can just get some touch. And let's see. Ooh, can I get him to touch it? Let's just try. Oh boy, that was awesome. Licking and chewing, but still backing up. One of the quickest ways to get a horse to get confident is to get him curious. If you can create curiosity, you'll get to confidence a hell of a lot faster. If you can't get curiosity, you're going to be struggling through a lot of caution. Do I already have a lot of caution? I got a bunch. Anybody want to buy some caution? We've got extra. So if I want to help him get confident, I want to start engaging his curiosity. I want to start engaging some social engagement. I want to get him to where he wants to feel things. He wants to find, like, what is it? I want him to engage. What are those long things on his muzzle, his face? Whiskers, right? We call them whiskers. That's what I have. Vibrissae, yes. Julie's been here all 3 sessions, yesterday and today. Julie could come and teach this here in a little while. Vibrissae are what they're called. I know, kid. Vibrissae. See, I'm just asking him to come over here too, and he's like, cowboy, don't want to do it. I am cranking. I know. So those vibrissae on his muzzle, what do they do? What purpose do they serve? Why would they be on a horse?
For safety.
They're not there so we can shave them off and go to a horse show and get a blue ribbon? Are you sure? I'm pretty convinced Mother Nature put those on there so we can shave them off and go to a horse show. That's why they're there, so that we can know that we're a real horseman when we show up at the horse show and have those all trimmed off nice and clean. No, they're super important. Each one of those vibrissae has an independent blood supply going to it. Do you know how much work it takes to get an independent blood supply all the way through this horse's system, clear out there to that little follicle and feed it? A lot of Mother Nature. And each one of those vibrissae has feeler cells into them so that this horse can feel its environment. Can feel, is this hot, cold, rough, smooth, soft, squishy, pokey, spongy? Is it alive? Is it dead? Is it an electric fence? Yeah. Wants to feel what things are. That's engagement. That's seeking. That's looking. That's what's in my environment, what's around me. So if I really wanted to make kid nervous, I would trim all of those off so he can't feel anything, and I would take away even more of his curiosity, which would put him even more in caution, if that's what I wanted to do. What I want to do is get kid to engage socially. I want him to want to figure some things out. I want him to want to touch this. Because if he can touch it, and then what happens right after that? If he can touch it, and then he gets to feel good, like I can set him up for a dopamine release, so he touches it, and then I release. It won't take kid's mind very long to go, can I touch that again? Can I touch some other stuff?
If he's lucky, you're not a mountain lion in the grass urging him on.
Right? So we want him to engage and seek things out. When he can seek and find his own answers, find the release, find the safety, we'll get more and more serotonin to balance in between fear and safety. We'll get less cortisol and less adrenaline, so his balance will be better in his nervous system. But we just got to build that up. I'm trying to be as calm as I can on the inside. I turn around and look at him like, let's do this. And he's like, well, you already did, man. I'm going to die. And there he's looking and chewing. Thank you. I'll wait. That's numbers 8, 9, and 10 right there. We're going to count. Okay, so kid, what I want you to do is be bold and brave, and I want you to come and touch this thing. I want you to come and just touch it. Can you? Oh, I know you're scared. Can you? Oh, yeah. Good boy, that was enough. Good boy. Oh, yes, I know. See, I'm setting him up to feel good. Stressed and worried. He thought he was going to die, but his life safety says, figure this out if he has the time. Because if I'd have come at him too fast with that flag, what would he do? His instincts would say, just leave. You don't want to stick around and see if it's a mountain lion, just get the hell out of here. Let's assume everything's a mountain lion and just leave. That's what Mother Nature says. But kid's been around enough and had a halter and a lead rope for 18 years. He knows he can't just leave, so he's like, got to try to figure this out. And I want to set him up to where he can figure that out. Come back up here, kid. I know. Just, there you go. Let's try this again. Oh, I know. I'll take a shot before I even touch it, Wes. Hang on, I need to come down. I'll take 2 of them, my gosh. Look at his eyes. Oh boy, if he could just vaporize himself right now, he would rather. Oh, I'm so scared. Oh, good boy. Good boy. Now we're going to let him come down. So we just took him on a roller coaster ride. Oh my gosh, clear down to 11. Goodness, we might want to get a medic in here. We might have to get a heart machine and come back up here. Come back up here. There we go. So let's just wait a minute. Oh, his heart rate's 126. His sympathetic in the 20s. This is a keg of dynamite.
This is so different.
The other horses we've worked with. Yeah.
He's relaxing his rear end and dropping you a nice manure collar.
Let's talk about that. Why is that happening right now? Biologically, what is his internal system saying? Huh? He didn't have to outrun the whole herd, just one. And if he can be 15 to 20 pounds lighter, that might be the difference. That might be all it takes. 'Cause I tell my buddies when I'm out hunting, I ain't got to outrun the predators. I just got to outrun you. I ain't trying to outrun the mountain lion. I'll just outrun Tom. That's all I got to do. I just got to run faster than Tom. And I'll be okay. That's all kid's saying is I just got to outrun that other little paint horse over there that's kind of crippled up. I just got to be in front of that one. That's all I got to do. So yeah, that internal system gets triggered. Clean that out, lighten the load. We don't need to carry that if we're going to be fighting for our life or running for our life.